Rev up your engines! Okay, here I got a 2001 Dodge Stratus, and you can all learn from this man's sad experience with a repair shop. Now, he inherited it from his parents, and you can see, you know, it's a typical Dodge. They get older, the paint starts feeling off of them because they didn't paint them right, and things fade off. But it was a good transportation car until he took it to this garage in Clarksville. It was older, had 117,000 miles. Now it's only got like 120,000 miles. And it was time to change the timing belt. And it's got this Mitsubishi 2.4 liter 16 valve engine that has a rubber timing belt. They're interference engines. They're not bad engines. They put out a reasonable amount of horsepower, but they're interference. So if that rubber timing belt gets to be old, and it was 19 years old, and mileage, I change it every 9 to 100. It was a little over 100. It's time to change the timing belt, because if the rubber belt breaks, the pistons hit the valves, goodbye engine. Now, this particular one is an interference engine because it's a single overhead cam engine. If it had been the double overhead cam engines, they are not interference engines. I mean, regardless, you got to change the timing belt every 100,000 miles anyways, but this particular one is an interference engine. So he was being wise, changing the belt. So he takes it to the garage, right? And they hit him for almost 800 bucks. It was 775 bucks. And they said they replaced the timing kit and everything, but they didn't do such a hot job. And this particular Mitsubishi design, the balance shaft keeps the engine from vibrating when you're idling. Relatively powerful 4-cylinder engines, they had a tendency to shake in it idling, so they put the balance shaft in it to balance it out. Obviously, when the guy put it together, he didn't time the balancing shafts correctly. You got to put the timing belt on that times the cam, but you also have to do the balance shaft as a belt, and that has to be set up perfectly. It counter rotates to keep it from vibrating, and that's timed too. And if the timing on the counterbalance shafts is off, guess what it's going to do? It's going to shake like this thing does. As you can see, this thing shakes a lot. It runs okay, other than the shaking. The gas mileage is about the same as it always was. He took it back right away, and they said, oh, don't worry, the shaking will settle down after you drive it a while. Now, 4,000 miles later, car's still shaking exactly the same. I'm looking at this thing, and it says, technician was Eric. So I asked the customer here, I said, does Eric still work there? Well, the owner said, no, Eric, we had problems with Eric. You know, he would screw up too much, and we had to fire him. But he did a good job on your car. Now, come on now. He trusted this guy. Shouldn't have trusted the guy. How can you tell somebody fired the guy because he wasn't a good worker, but no, he didn't screw up your car, right? That's just the way that it goes. He didn't screw that up. He obviously did. He was in a hurry. He didn't do the job right. He didn't get the balance on. Maybe he doesn't even have the timing right. I'm assuming the timing is still good because it would get crappy gas mileage and wouldn't run right on the highway, which it runs okay, but it doesn't idle right. So let's hook up my fancy scan tool and see what's going on. All right, we got it plugged in. It's doing an auto link. Now, there's no code, so we're going to start it up. And we're going to look at live data, LD. As you can see, the ignition time's moving around. 8, 10, 9, 10. And I'm not touching the accelerator. It's doing it by itself. It even went up to 11 once. It should not go 8, 9, 10, 11. And as you can see, now it hit 12. Okay, 8 to 12 at idle. That's totally unacceptable. You see, it's stable when we rev it up, but at idle, it is not stable. We'll let off the gas, and you'll see. Now it's moving around again. It's idling, it should stay the same, and it's not. It's going 8, it's going 9, 8, it's moving all over the place, 10. So obviously the timing wasn't even set right. Maybe the balance shaft is on or off. I can't get any data on this old thing. It won't show you anything about balance shaft data. There's no data for it. But it's shaking so much at idle. That's part of the problem too. But as you can see, the ignition timing isn't right either. So the whole job was botched up. Obviously the job wasn't done right. And the guy had the balls of saying, well, we fired the guy because he wasn't a good mechanic, but in your case, he did a good job. But basically, the whole shop, I kind of renege on anything they do because of this. He's getting a bunch of squeaking on that side of the car. And they said, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. A little of the power steering, nothing else is wrong. Well, he changed all these parts, these bushings and mounts. And guess what happened? After he changed those parts, the noise went away. So the bushings and parts are wrong. He misdiagnosed that too, whoever he had work on a car. It was a different mechanic because that guy didn't work there anymore. That's the problem with places that are either not honest or just plain incompetent. I'm assuming this is more incompetence in the first place. Runs decent enough, but I'm gonna take it for a road test and show you what else is wrong. It seems like the transmission's starting to go. So close the hood, take it for a little spin. Now it does shake quite a bit. We're gonna back it up and take it for a road test. So I feel like I'm in a 10. It's the typical Chrysler hood liner's garbage and it's all falling down, especially in the back there. And the owner just told me the turn signal in the front melted and fell off, but let's see how the tranny's going. Good thing for him, they don't do car inspections every year. They would never pass. Other than the shaking, it still runs okay, but he's worried about the transmission. And let it be known, these things are notorious for failure of transmissions this kind of mileage, 121,000 miles. So we'll come to a stop here, and then we'll check out the transmission. Okay, we're at 0. Let's see how it goes. 1, 2, shifted kind of late. 3's really not shifting until I let go, then it shifts. I mean, it still runs, but you can see, 2nd to 3rd shifts too high, but when you go on 3rd to 4th, it really, you gotta take your foot off the gas, otherwise it'll stay and it won't shift. That just basically shows the transmission's starting to go up. That's pretty typical on these with this kind of mileage. A lot of them don't even make it that far. But, I mean, stop on the gas, it downshifts and goes. It's drivable, and considering the shape of the car, I'd just leave the thing alone. Now, he has changed the fluid and filter himself. It didn't make any difference. These things just wear out, but cruising along, it goes good enough. I mean, it's a knock-around car, but he got ripped off by the guy that didn't do a good job when they did the timing belt. It's quite obvious. And the owner of the store just didn't stand behind it. They kept trying to sell him other stuff. I mean, let's face it. We got the wind flapping away. There's the headliner and the back window flopping all over the place when you're going down the road like a flag. And this part's practically being sucked out by like a tornado sucking it out. It's just coming apart. You can see the front of the hood where it's all really starting to peel off now. I mean, it still runs down the road, but basically he got ripped off, and the owner of the shop basically obviously doesn't care. In an old car like this is always going to be shaking a little idle anyway. Nobody's going to put too much money into one of these things. You roll the windows up, it's not all that noisy. I mean, yeah, when you come to an idle, it starts shaking and everything. Well, it's a plastic Dodge. What do you expect, you know? Everything here, and you see the dash is starting to come apart, fall apart. It's just plastic cheapness, that's all. And when you think about it, it doesn't have any trouble codes, which is really phenomenal for a 21-year-old Dodge. Normally they got all kinds of codes. It doesn't have any codes. Everything's green. Now, like I say, nobody's gonna put a bunch of money into this car. The hood release is broken. You open it from the front and you can see the paint's all coming off. But as far as I'm concerned, it could still be like one of those old Chrysler vans. They fall apart, but some guys are driving them while they're falling apart and they got a couple 100,000 miles. They're still going down the road. What the heck? It still doesn't go that bad. It's just a shame that the car was running fine and not shaking, and he took it into this guy, paid $780 for a job that, by the way, all data says it's a 3.5-hour labor job. So it's really not a $780 job. Be that as it may, they didn't do it right, and when he got it back, it started shaking. And they just said, oh, just wait a while, it'll go away. Now, don't ever let that happen to you. You take it and it shakes and it didn't shake before, make them fix it, or don't pay them and get your car back and go somewhere else. Now, this is totally safe to drive around. The transmission, yes, it's starting to go out. That's going to do it on its own. And it runs good enough. Gas mileage is about the same that it always was, he said. So, not a horrendous bad deal, but still, you get something shaking that didn't shake before, don't let it pass by, and then later they'll say, oh, well, that's too late now. There's nothing you can do about it. Do it right away. This is a big reason I tell people, if you ever get in a wreck, get in the car from the body shop, do not sign the check until you road test that car. Tell them I'm taking it for a road test. I want to see what it's like. Do not give them the money, because once they get that money, too bad, they're not going to care, and you're SOL. You get in a situation like he does, it shakes right after you get the car back and it didn't shake before, take it back. Especially something like a timing belt. If it's not right off maybe one tooth or not tensioned correctly, it's going to make the engine idle poorly, which is exactly what this thing is doing. And you saw with my scan tool, the timing was bouncing all over the place, showing it wasn't done right. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.